Hello there, you're welcome to again another episode of the program Ben Talks. And on Ben Talks this week, we'll be taking a critical look at the role of women in nation building. And we are talking to no other today than a woman that has played her role. She has paid her dues as far as fighting against human trafficking is concerned in Nigeria. She is no other person than Dame Mrs. Julie Okah Donli. She is someone that has distinguished herself while she was DG of NAPTIP. She will be telling us about what it was like being the person in charge of NAPTIP in Nigeria and her new role in the United Nations and what women can do to make sure that Nigeria becomes a better place. Don't go away. How would you describe yourself?
My name is Dame Julie Okah Donli. I'm from Bayelsa State, a mother of 2 adults. I used to be the Director General of NAPTIP until December 2020. Right now, I serve as the Chairman Board of Trustees, United Nations Voluntary Trust Fund for Victims of Trafficking, and I've also established an NGO to fight human trafficking and sexual and gender-based violence, and I'm going to be launching my NGO very soon.
How did they metamorphose into all this? Fight for gender equality and against gender violence?
Well, right from when I was growing up, I'd always been an advocate for women empowerment, for women education. Reason being that I come from Bayelsa State. And Bayelsa State is a state where the women are relegated to the background. Right from time immemorial till this day, you'll find out that in the assembly, the State House of Assembly, for example, if you get one person that is a member, it's very difficult. The first and only female member of the House happens to be my cousin. I come from a very strong family. We are very strong fighters. We're not people you just push around because we are very confident people. We believe in ourselves, and that's very important. Your upbringing is very important. If you're brought up to be very assertive, you're brought up to be very confident and to believe in yourself, it will be very difficult for you to accept what people would term the usual norm. The usual norm being that the women should be relegated to the background and everybody should be men. You go to the House of Reps, you don't have any woman from Bayelsa State. You go to the Senate, there's no woman from Bayelsa State. The question is, are the women not as good, if not better, than the men who run for elective offices? So, we have to change the dynamics. We have to change this mindset of, women should not even be seen or heard, and it has to be the men that when it comes to politics, it's the man's world. No, it isn't, because it is the women who vote for these men. Because when you're talking about voting, you're talking about elections, just check out the number on the queue. You find more women on the queue than men. So if the women decide not to go and vote for the men any longer and to vote for themselves, to put that number to vote for themselves, of course the women will take it.
How would you react to that, talking about the power of the woman in decision making, especially when it comes to leaders?
Women are very powerful in every ramification, but I want us to put that power into practice. If they say you control the man, you're powerful, whatever, let's put it into practice. Let us support our women to come out as governors, as presidents, as Senate presidents, as Speaker House of Reps. Why must it always be the men? We should come out and be who these men are, because we can do it. We definitely can do it. So I want us to put this power into practice. We shouldn't just be powerful by word of mouth. The women are very powerful. Women are very powerful. We should put it into practice.
Do you really think women support women?
You see, I don't agree with that. Men are very manipulative. And over the years, they have made women to think that a woman cannot work with another woman. They have manipulated the minds of women to make them think that they cannot work with a fellow woman. And then the men take these women to themselves because we have the numbers. They take these women to themselves to partner with them so that these women can support the men. rather than supporting the women, because they've changed, they've brainwashed us into thinking. So it's enough. Enough is enough. It is time for women to wake up and to realize that these men have been using us for so long. These men have been brainwashing us to think that we cannot work with each other. Why can't we work with each other? Why shouldn't we work with each other? I don't agree with that. I think it's just the way of the men having control over the women. And we need to break that jinx and begin to prove them wrong.
Your days in NAPTIP, how would you describe it?
My days in NAPTIP, wow. They were very fulfilling to me because I'm very passionate about the fight against human trafficking and sexual and gender-based violence. I've always been an activist for human rights, a human rights activist. When it comes to, the rights of not just women and children, the rights of everyone must be respected. And so when I was in NAPTIP, I took it as a divine assignment. I worked in NAPTIP with all of my heart, with all of my might, and with the fear of God. I made sure that I tried to do the right things at all times. Any report that was given to me, I was on top of it. As a lawyer, I could sit down with the lawyers and the investigators and we'll trash out issues. I will tell them why we have a case, why the perpetrators have a case to answer, and why we should file this case and file immediately. I could go to the chief judge of the FCT, for example, and tell him, my lord, the cases are being delayed. Can you please help us? Assign to special courts, special judges, so that we can have expedited hearing. So I brought in my experience to bear as a lawyer, as a chartered secretary and administrator. I brought in my administrative skills, my secretarial skills. As a chartered arbitrator, I brought in my skills as an arbitrator. I could sit down with warring families and bring constant peace to them. So there was no need for them to even go to court. I could counsel a husband and a wife and they will come back happy. So I found myself doing a lot of counseling, doing a lot of arbitration, doing a lot of things. It was such a lot of roles tied into one. I found myself doing law enforcement. I found myself doing practically everything. But I was very happy because it brought out the best in me, because that is something that I was very passionate about. But there were so many times I felt good with myself. When we got convictions, that made me really happy. That made me to know that my officers were working very hard. There were times where we rescued victims of trafficking from various countries. And for me, my highest point, if I may put it that way, was when I employed 3 former victims of human trafficking who are right now working as staff of NAPTIP. That for me was the highest point. These girls were rescued from slavery and then they were employed. It changed everything about their lives altogether. Now they became ambassadors for NAPTIP. They could reach out to people and tell them, look, we were here before, here we are now. Yes, you were trafficked before, that's not the end of the world. You can move on with your life. It's not that bad. You don't have to be suicidal. You don't have to give up. You don't know. So, I had so many moments that made me really happy. When I get convictions, when I employ people, when we rescue victims of trafficking and train them. And we see that they are now doing well. We had a situation where somebody was rescued. She went to school. She's now a graduate and she's working with us. So what can be better than that? There's so many instances. I just can't mention all of them.
Do you think there's actually a problem with us when it comes to trafficking, human trafficking? Do you think there's an underlying cause, or it's just an ignorant thing, or people just do it because they don't know what they're doing?
You see, human trafficking there are so many factors that influence it. It's not a factor. There are so many factors. We have the issues of ignorance. Ignorance plays like 70% of it.
Okay.
People are just ignorant. And so it's very easy to lure away ignorant people. For example, first of all, we need to change the mindset of most of us, not just youths, some adults too, are that ignorant, into thinking that the best thing that can happen to them is to relocate out of Nigeria, even when they don't have a mission or a vision or a purpose for relocating. So first of all, we have to change the mindset. We have to have a national orientation and reorientation first. Once that is done, that ignorance level will drop, because people are so ignorant, and that's why they get them easily. The moment you throw that carrot at them and tell them, we're going to take you out of the country, you will get a better job, you'll be earning dollars, that is the watchword, that's the magic word for them. They move. So we have to change that mindset, that you can remain in Nigeria and become someone of importance. You can remain in Nigeria and you can do all sorts of businesses. You can become a Dangote in Nigeria. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that ignorance first, to change the mindset. Then, of course, there are elements of poverty. When people are poor, they don't think straight. People take advantage of them. They become very vulnerable. And then people can come and just offer them some peanuts and take their children away. When a family has too many children, you have 10 children, and you cannot feed them, it's very easy to say, please take 7 of them away. Give them to families that can send them to schools, or take them out of the country so they can work and send money to us. So when we have too many children, family planning, lack of family planning is a major, major issue. We have to sensitize people on the need to cut your family according to the way you can feed them. So the number of children you have is also important. Poverty, lack of education. And that's why I'm also advocating for free and compulsory education. When education is free and compulsory, all these children roaming along the streets will be in school. In addition to free and compulsory education, when you have skill acquisition made free and compulsory in the primary and secondary schools, in the unlikely event that a child drops out of primary or secondary school, they have a skill to work with. So with that skill, you're good to go. It's very difficult to traffic someone who has a skill. If you come to me, for example, and tell me, oh, I want to take you to America, or I'll tell you, look, I know how to make shoes. If you can just give me 50,000 naira, I'll be able to do my business, because I know how to make shoes. And they will not even think of going out. They'll say, okay, I can make shoes very well. If I can work a little and save 50 to 100,000, I will start making from one shoe sell, and that's it. So skill acquisition is also very important. So the lack of all of these things I'm saying leads to, and of course the greed on the part of the traffickers. They are so greedy. They don't have the fear of God. They don't have value for human life. They can kill, they can maim, they can do anything just to get that money. So, and of course greed again on the part of the victims. There are some victims who were working in banks, good jobs. They sold everything they had. They gave the money to the traffickers to be trafficked abroad. And then when they got there, they found out that it wasn't what they thought, because they were thinking of getting so much dollars and, coming back to build houses and do things like that.
Do you think the failure of government in a particular area played a role in all this you talk about?
You see, like I keep saying, the fight against human trafficking is a fight that involves the whole of government and the whole of society. Now, the whole of government includes the local government, the state government, the federal government. Most times people's attention are on the federal government. The federal government cannot do it alone. And that is why I started to set up state task forces on trafficking in all the states. At the time I left, we had set up 14 states. I was to set up in 3 other states before my removal from office. And I'm glad to say that the new DG has gone to those 3 states that I was meant to have gone to and set up. And it will continue until the 36 states have been set up. And of course the FCT. Now what this does is that when you have a state task force, You have all the relevant law enforcement agencies, all the relevant government agencies right there. The CSOs, the NGOs, the media, everyone make up the task force. And so it is easy to fight human trafficking from state to state, rather than the states waiting for the federal government to come. So that's the use and that's the importance of the state task forces. Everyone has a role to play, including you. There are lots of times that people have seen things. They don't say anything and they don't do anything. And that's why I keep saying, if you see something, say something and do something. Don't just say something, do something. You have a role to play as a media man. You're walking on the streets and you see children and you think something is not right. Don't just look at them and say, oh, I think something is not right, and take a picture and start sending it all around, sharing. No. Go to the relevant authorities and say, I saw something that I think was not right. I think these guys are being trafficked. You should look into it. If every one of us can play our role, human trafficking, sexual and gender-based violence will be a thing of, will be reduced to the barest minimum.
What would you say about the nonchalant attitude of information managers in these agencies that are supposed to get feedback for the agency to be able to function? But there are a lot of people that really want to volunteer this information, but the process and the brick wall they meet discourages them and they just withdraw. So what would you say about that?
For me, there are ways to go around it. I mean, if you, the example you gave, for example, the website has not been updated and things like that, you can go out of your way and go there. The offices must have somewhere. They must have a presence. They must have an address. You can go right there to make your reports, give information that you have, because information sharing is very important. I mean, it helps. It really helps to fight this crime of human trafficking and sexual and gender-based violence. I don't think you should give up because you make a call and someone tells you, I'm not. Let me tell you what. A lot of people still call me because they don't know I'm no longer DG. But what do? I text them the number of someone they can reach in NAPTIP. And in addition to that, I forward the information again, So I don't go saying, oh, I'm no longer in NAPTIP, so please don't call this number again. I tell them, I don't work with NAPTIP, but I'll forward this information to NAPTIP. And at the same time, I'll send you their phone number. That is how it should be. I mean, we're all partners in progress. So we should all see ourselves as partners in progress, whether we're somewhere or we're not, or not. It shouldn't make any difference.
So how does it feel like working as a BOT chair?
Well, I was appointed by the United Nations in November when I was still in NAPTIP, before my removal from NAPTIP. And I had been a global citizen for a long time. Even while I was in NAPTIP, at least I can say that I was recognized all over the world by virtue of my job. And so my name is quite global, even, whilst I was in NAPTIP. And now, it has continued as the chairman of the United Nations Voluntary Trust Fund. I don't feel any different. I'm still Julie Okah Donli. I'm still doing what I know how to do best. Which is championing the fight against human trafficking and sexual and gender-based violence. I'm the chairman now of the UNVTF. I was appointed as a member, and by unanimous decision of my fellow members, I was made chair of the board. And it's good to be chair. I'm learning a lot. I'm sharing my expertise, my experience. I'm learning from good practices as well, because this trust fund has been in existence for the past 10 years. Yes, so it's not a new one. And so I'm learning. I'm also giving my own input as well. And it's going on well. So far, so good. I'm very happy with it. It gives me room to work, to think out of the box some more, and to go into areas that I never really took up with so much interest in. It's also going to give me the opportunity to ensure that the federal government of Nigeria is also a contributory to the fund, because right now Nigeria is not a contributory to the fund, even though we are beneficiaries through the NGOs. So it's going to give me the room to also involve the federal government, to participate in this fund, because that is exactly what I want to achieve. And also the organized private sector and the high net worth individuals. I've already started talking to some of them have already started responding, thankfully enough, and I hope that under my watch that fund is going to grow 100 times over.
What do you think is responsible? Your sister, Okonjo-Iweala, is there making a lot of noise for the whole world to know that there is a country called Nigeria.
Oh yeah.
You are there, Ezekwesili and the rest. They are just doing their Arumaote and all of them. What do you think is the driving force actually?
Like I said before, you can't give what you don't have. It comes from you, from within. All these women you mentioned, they are very confident women. They are very intelligent women. They are very well brought up. So you see, your upbringing plays a lot of role in every aspect of your life. My dad was a naval officer, very disciplined one for that matter. My mom was a very hardworking businesswoman. My mother was my role model. She was very hardworking and very successful. I just wanted to be like her. So my dad was also a hardworking naval officer, even though he was retired very early in his career during the, I think, government school or so. So your upbringing says a lot about you. It says a lot about what you can do, what you cannot do. I cannot be suppressed and oppressed by any man or woman. No, it cannot happen, because it doesn't exist in my DNA. I'm a very confident woman, very extremely confident. I believe in a cause. I'm very focused. I'm hardworking, and I'm determined. And I think when you put all of this together, the sky is your limit.
How do you play your role as a mother, as a wife, as a very focused woman? How do you balance it all?
Like I said, I'm a mother of 2 adults. So I don't need to baby anybody. I don't do school runs. My children are the ones now taking care of me. Okay. My son is 30. My daughter is 25. They are both working and doing very well. They are happy. They are comfortable. I'm happy for them as well. So I don't have school runs. I don't have to take children to school. I don't have to change diapers. I've paid my dues and I've gone past that. So I'm very happy.
Okay, so what would be your advice to the average Nigerian girl, woman, that still believes that the man will decide where she will go?
No man decides where a woman goes to. That is not to say you don't love and respect and honor your husband. Every woman should be hardworking and focused and determined to get to the next level. When you are very hardworking, determined, and focused, your husband will support you. I don't think any man likes a lazy woman or a weak woman who will be relegated to the background. So I think that the men should support women, support their wives. Don't feel intimidated if you have a strong wife. Support your wife. Encourage her to get to her next level and beyond. And you find out that when a woman is happy, you have a happy home. If you try to suppress your wife and she's not happy, you can never be happy, because pikin wey say im mama no go sleep, himself na so im eye go open till the next morning. That's just the truth. That's on the part of husbands. Now on the part of the men generally, don't feel intimidated by women. Let's go to the field together. Test our popularity, test yours, I test mine, but don't try to suppress me, or don't try to put fear in me by sending thugs and armed robbers and kidnappers after the women. Everybody should come to the field and test your popularity, not by giving out money. Just come and test your popularity, and you find out that the women will take it.
Having done this for some time, reasonable time, do you have regrets? Are there things you wanted to do that you have not been able to do?
The truth is that I do not have any regrets whatsoever. If there is anything that I would call a regret or that saddens me, I am very saddened by the fact that my mother did not live long enough to see this daughter of hers who just wanted to be like her. My mother died very early at 43. I was just 18 years old at the time. She was a very beautiful, kind-hearted woman. She made an impact on so many lives. She trained so many people at that young age, to show you how well she did at the time. So if there's anything that makes me sad, is the fact that my mother didn't live long enough for me to be able to say thank you to her. Other than that, there is a time and there is a season for everything. No regrets, no bitterness, no hard feelings. There's a time to walk and there's a time to move on. And this is my time.
Thank you for watching that episode of the program Ben Talks. I hope some of the questions you had were answered. Join us again for another episode of Ben Talk, where we take a critical look at another sector of the Nigerian society. I am your anchor person, Festus Ejiroga Nefifen. In all you do, try to be a global citizen. Cheers.